Hi, and welcome to one of a series of videos for parents highlighting some really interesting maths activities for 14 to 16-year-olds on the NRICH website. The purpose of the Warmsnug Double Glazing activity is to encourage your son or daughter to develop their problem-solving skills, in this case working with two unknowns. The activity is based on lengths and area with which your son or daughter will be very familiar, and the video will enable you to help start the problem with your son or daughter if you want to, or guide you to the NRICH website where there are also other hints and tips and resources. Let's have a look at the Warmsnug Double Glazing Problem then. You can see from the picture there that Warmsnug calculate the prices of their windows according to the area of glass used and the length of frame needed, and there's quite a variety of windows that they make looking at it, and really quite a variety of prices for each one as well. So some of the windows are single pane with a single frame, such as B and F, and some of the other ones are made up of two panes of glass with some internal framework as well, such as A, E, and G. The main question with this problem is, can you work out how Warmsnug arrived at the prices of the windows? And clearly they must have some strategy for pricing windows that's consistent with quite a variety of different sizes and styles of windows on sale here. But also, in the problem, there is a window with an incorrect price, and can we find that too? So the challenge here for your son or daughter is to establish from all of the information there with these different windows, how are they actually working out the price for each window that is consistent across all of those windows except for one which has been incorrectly priced. Getting started with the problem. Well, in the first instance, the best thing your son or daughter can do is to have a go at the problem and see how they can do. Can they figure out ways of solving it? Can they work out the answer? And to encourage them in this process, if they do get a little bit stuck, then you can ask questions such as, talk me through your thinking. Often this helps students because they've made a small error, and as they talk through what they've done, they suddenly realize where they've gone wrong and they can go back to thinking about it and carrying on. Or you could give a little bit more direct support and say, I think it's to do with comparing lengths and areas between the windows. So initially, the best thing to do is just let your son and daughter have a go at the problem. Having said that, in the next part of the video, I will look at two different approaches to solving the problem. The first is using algebra by creating equations to help solve the problem. And also an alternate method that is a little bit more intuitive, but where we're looking at the windows and asking, what's the same? What's different? And can we draw something out to help solve the problem? So to help out, let's have a look at window A and have a look at the area of the glass here. We can see that it's 4 units high, and the left-hand window pane is 4 units wide as well. So we can see that the area of one pane of glass on window A is actually 4 times 4, 16 units squared. Clearly there's 2 panes of glass on window A, so we have 2 lots of that, 16 plus 16, and we have a total area of 32 units squared for window A. If we have a look at the length of frame for window A as well, we can see that the frame is 4 units high, and on that left-hand window 4 units long, and we can follow this on around the window frame, another 4 there, it's 4 high again, and so on around the perimeter of the window, the outside edge. But of course this window has 2 panes, so it does have some framework inside as well. If we count those up, we can see we've actually got 7 lengths of 4, so the length of the frame for window A is 7 times 4, which equals 28 units. Let's have a look at finding out the cost of this window, window A? Actually, we do know the cost is £880, and we know the area of the window panes is 32 units squared, and the length of all the framework is 28 units in this case. One way of doing this is to let the glass cost be G pounds per unit squared, and to let the frame cost be F pounds per unit length. So we know in this case that we have 32 units squared of glass. So if we're trying to work out the total cost of window A, it will be 32 times G, the cost per unit squared, plus 28, because we know the length of the framework here is 28, times F, the cost of 1 unit length for the framework. So we have this equation that the total cost of this window is 32G plus 28F. And of course, we know the window costs £880. So by looking at window A, we can develop this equation, 880 equals 32G plus 28F, an equation with two unknowns. Here's the problem again. We've just looked at developing an equation for the cost of window A based on the cost per unit squared of the glass, G, and the cost per unit length of the framework, F. Your son or daughter could look at some of the other windows and try and develop similar equations and see if that is a possible way of working out the solution to the problem. Let's have a look then at an alternative way of solving this problem, but because I don't want to use the windows in the actual problem, let's consider cheap fit windows as a different supplier who price up their windows as well in a similar way to Warmsnug. So what we're looking for is to find a similarity between two windows, and I've chosen X and Y, the windows from cheap fit here, and does that similarity between them help us then start working out some of the things we don't know? So if we look at window X, we can see it's 4 units wide, 6 units high, and the area of the glass in that particular window is 4 times 6, which is 24 units squared. If we look at window Y, that's 8 units wide, it's 3 units high, and the area of that window is 8 times 3, which is also 24 units squared. Thinking about the framing for both windows, if we look at window X, the frame length is the perimeter around that rectangle, so 4 plus 6 plus 4 plus 6, which is 20 units. And if we look at window Y, the frame length of that window around the rectangle, the perimeter of the rectangle there, is 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3, 22 units. So a similarity between the two windows from cheap fit, window X and window Y, is in fact that they both have exactly the same area. And we might be able to use this to help work out how they've calculated the cost of their windows. A difference, we can quite clearly see the frame length for window X is 20 units and the frame length for window Y is 22, so there's a difference there. And also there's a difference in the cost of these two windows as well. So the difference in the frame length between the two windows is 22 minus 20, which is 2 units of length, and the difference in the cost of the two windows is £340, take away £320, which is £20. So if we just think about that, that means 2 units of frame length actually cost £20, so 1 unit of frame costs £10. Now, if we take that information, that 1 unit of frame length is £10, we can look at one of the windows, I've chosen X here, and work out how much the glass costs. So the frame length cost for this window is 20 times £10, which is £200 altogether. That means the cost of the glass will be £320, the total cost of the window, take away £200, and you can see it's £120. There are 24 units squared of glass area in this particular window, so the cost of 1 unit squared of glass will be the remaining amount of money, £120, divided by 24, which is £5 per unit squared. Now we know that the frame length costs £10 per unit length and the glass costs £5 per unit squared for window X. Do these values work for window Y to give a total cost of £340? Well, let's have a look. So the total cost of the window above, window Y, will be 24 times £5. That's the area of window Y, 24, times by the cost per unit squared, £5, plus 22 times £10. That's the frame length for window Y, 22, times by £10, the cost per unit length. So 24 times £5 is £120, 22 times £10 is £220, and we can see if we add these together, we get the total £340, which is the cost of window Y. So by looking at a similarity between these two windows, in this case the area of glass, I could then work out a cost for a unit of frame length and then a cost for each unit squared of glass used. Knowing this information allowed me to work out the cost of any cheap fit window if I know how much framing and glass has been used. So this is an alternative way of solving the problem for your son or daughter. Don't forget, I've just worked out how cheap fit price their windows, so these answers are not the correct ones for Warmsnug. Here is the problem again. Just to remind you, the first step is to just let your son or daughter try and solve it on their own. This is a great way to develop their problem-solving skills. But also, in the video, there are the first steps on solving the problem by developing and solving equations with two unknowns, or the alternative method where you are trying to find a similarity between two windows to help work out the costs for frame length and glass and then answer the problem. And don't forget, one of the windows has got the wrong price. Following that brief introduction to the Warmsnug Double Glazing Problem, you can actually go to the NRICH website at nrich.maths.org/warmsnug and you'll find this problem. And on that web page there are links to further resources to help you with the problem. There are hints in the Getting Started tab on other ways of thinking about how to look at the problem. And also, of course, there's the solution and a couple of different ways of doing that so that your son or daughter can check out whether the way they've chosen to do it is in there, and if not, email NRICH and let them know, but also to check their answers, of course. NRICH also have adapted their materials in the current situation, and if you'd like your son or daughter to do some more maths that's just exploring or trying things out to do with maths and enriching their maths education at the moment, then there's a dedicated section that NRICH have set up for 14 to 16-year-olds. And as you can see, they've got 4 sections here, which if you just click each button, you'll be taken through to some other puzzles and problems, just jottings, interactive games and puzzles, maths to take your time over, and one where you can print out resources. This is all at nrich.maths.org/14569. I'll just read that once more, nrich.maths.org/14569. And I'd just like to say thank you for listening to the video, and I hope you found it useful and that your son or daughter enjoys the activities on the NRICH website.